there's an exhaustive list of factors, right, that are sort of promulgated that the court would look at.
Is that the word of the day from toilet paper? Promulgated?
Okay.
Promulgated.
Promulgated, even better.
Yeah, that's the SAT word if I've ever heard one.
You know what I'm saying? I'm getting my Austin College dollars
Okay,
today.
there you go.
There you go. There you go. Right?
Y'all going to have to pay us for these name drops at some point.
Welcome back, guys, to Cases and Cocktails. I'm Bryan Eggleston. This is my beautiful wife, Janice. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. And today, guys, we got a special episode for episode 29. We have the greatest podcast producer that I've ever had the opportunity of doing a podcast with.
Well, he hasn't done it with just me, so that would be one out of... Okay, got it.
There you go.
I see where the math is adding up now.
That compliment. There you go. Josh Sharon, how you doing?
I'm doing well. And yourself, sir?
Good, man. Doing fantastic. Doing absolutely fantastic. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the news. Sports news on top of that.
I think that's why I'm here. Because it's sports related.
Sports related. All right, there you go. So we're going to do sports talk radio for the next hour. It's a nice change. I'm tired of family law.
I'm down for it.
You're down for it. All right. Janice is going to lead it. She's the leading sports talk radio human in the room.
Pretty sure 2 nights ago I called it girls baseball.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
That's softball for everybody that didn't get that. Okay, just checking.
I think it still works. It works. All right, we got a drink. What's our drink? It's purple today.
It's
Go Frogs.
Go Frogs. There you go. Oh, that's nice.
I didn't plan it, but it's a happy accident.
Yeah, all right.
This is a Lavender Fizz, so it's got gin, lavender syrup, some Topo, hopefully not the Topo that got recalled, and a little bit of lime juice.
There's a Topo recall?
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. I just, one of our friends just sent us something on it, and I saw it.
Well, we're going to run the risk.
That's going to be difficult for me.
I think the gin will kill whatever.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
Lime kicking your butt.
Okay.
All right.
I can do that.
Lemon.
Yeah, put the lemon in there.
All right. You big gin drinker?
I am not.
Yeah.
I am. If I had to pick, I'm a crown apple and cranberry juice guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that speaks
Just said
so
it
much.
publicly,
Yes,
like,
out
gonna be
loud.
on the
Oh,
internet.
100%.
Yeah.
For the fans out there, if you are at a barbecue or cornhole tournament or whatever,
Cornhole.
a nice cranberry and crown apple, get you right.
That ain't no lie.
I promise you.
That ain't no lie.
But like if I'm paying for the drinks, like at a bar, normally it's a pineapple vodka or a cherry vodka sour.
I'm getting you a pineapple vodka from now
Or if I'm like at a resort, it's something fruity with stuff hanging out of it. Yeah.
Nice.
I like to enjoy the taste. I don't like alcohol. I like the effects.
You like the effects?
Yeah.
That's it. That's fair. I'll tell you what, a little bit of sports today. There's a couple of things that came up. We're not going to talk about the Cowboys because that's a sore subject for me. But we are going to talk a little bit about a football player, Travis Hunter.
Yes.
And we're also going to talk about Anthony Edwards, a basketball player.
Correct.
Just real fast, Janice, do you know who Travis Hunter is?
Football player.
Epic. Do you know why we're talking about Travis Hunter, the football player?
Prenup?
Prenups, 100%. Do you know?
Did you know that before we talked about this episode 10 minutes ago?
No, I thought Travis Hunter was our guest.
Oh, we'd be doing really well as a
Right,
podcast
yes.
if Travis Hunter was a guest.
That's fair.
And I had no clue.
That's fair. All right. Well, that's okay, though. We're going to talk a little bit about Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter was in the news recently. He recently got married.
Correct.
And he got married. And the reason he got married was
Love.
out of love, which is the only reason you get married. But more importantly, he got married without a prenup.
Correct.
And so he just went what, number 2?
No, he went number 1.
Number 1. Number 1. He went
and was the Heisman Trophy winner.
Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, and he just got selected in the draft and is doing the things, but more importantly, just got married without a prenup, and so that means if he were in the state of Texas or a community state, that what he earns during the marriage is going to be half his and half hers.
And that's kind of why I'm here, because I want to dispel some myths, some questions, some things floating around in the inner sphere about that situation. And you kind of just touched on it. So let's just get down to the nitty gritty. He went number 1. He signed I believe it's $50 million over 4 years.
Right.
I think it's $35 million guaranteed or a signing bonus. So the moment that they say I do, she's entitled to half, or how does that work with no prenup?
Well, let's start here. First of all, he's not in the state of Texas, 1.
Yes.
And 2, he's not a client.
So every state,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Do we need a conflict check that? Probably. Okay, that was an attorney joke.
Well, let me
Apologize.
preface. Every state is different. This is not a universal law for prenups and okay.
100%. So we're not talking about Travis Hunter particularly. We're talking about a hypothetical, right?
Okay.
A hypothetical is that if he signed his NFL deal in the great state of Texas, and on top of that, they lived in the great state of Texas and they got married in the great state of Texas. Hypothetically, it's community state. So anything after from the date of marriage forward, she's entitled to 50-50. So yeah, so at some point she's going to be in a space where once he earns those dollars and they are received, then that would be part of the community estate.
Okay, so it's not that he signed the contract, it's the receiving of the money. So if it's a 4-year deal,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how the checks work in the NFL, but I'm assuming he's getting paid a little bit during mini camp right now.
You're not getting NFL money?
Oh,
I thought what happened in the playing days? I thought we were.
Oh man, the playing days went out with the back and the knee and the.
So we really need to make this podcast
We
work?
do. It's got to
Okay.
work. We got to get monetized. Y'all
All right.
subscribe so we can get to monetization. But no. So if he signed a 4-year deal, he's going through mini camp right now. He hasn't really got a game check yet, which is, for anybody that's doing the math, it's probably $1 million a game or close to. She's entitled to all of those checks, half of out of the gate.
Yep.
It would
Got
be
it.
considered. Well, let me say this. We're going to use terms.
Use the legal terms
Yeah,
so
we're-
that I
we're-
can.
Yeah, we're going to use little terms like the community. They're going to build a community estate, right? So what that just means is that money is community. They both have access to it. They're both equally able to have it. If for some reason they got divorced, then they could both be entitled to a share of it. If
Okay.
that makes sense.
The starting split is 50-50. There's obviously things you can argue to move that metric one way or another, but the starting is 50-50.
Got it. And so when you guys deal, I'm assuming, with some high net worth clients and stuff, are you when you do a prenup, or when a prenup comes into the conversation before a marriage, are you guys on the fence? Are you one way or another, or how are you advising your high net worth clients? Like when
Who do I represent? The person that wants it or doesn't want it?
touche.
We're attorneys. We're kind of schizophrenic that way.
Let's assume that Travis Hunter was a player for one of the NFL teams in Texas. Are you pro prenup at that point?
I think it makes sense. I understand the optics on it both ways. As someone marrying someone that has a lot of money, I don't know how I'd feel about it. But so here's the dynamic.
Let's get
right?
real. Let's
So,
do it.
I get it, right? So your thought is something to the effect of,
Oh, my thought is she's not catching passes over the middle and getting hit by 300-pound linebackers. So I don't necessarily think she's entitled to half. Let me
Right.
give you some, but not half.
but the thought is that they are married. They're a team, right? He's
Yeah.
going and working, and whether she works or not, I don't know. I would think maybe it'd be hard to be a professional if you're going to go and support your husband
Yeah.
doing the sports stuff. having kids, whatever it might be. So she's not going to be able to, maybe because of his profession, be able to go earn as much as she could have if he was doing something local, something more normal, right?
Okay.
So she's not able to put money in the bank towards a 401k, stuff like that. So I do think that because of her effort in the marriage, hypothetically, that she should be entitled to a portion of it.
Okay.
Now, what the percentage is, I don't know. I guess that depends on how it all plays out. But I think that's the other thought.
I think one, if a client comes to us and they're asking for a prenup, one of the things that we are going to do is we're going to look at it. We have to figure out the totality of what their assets are individually before the marriage, and all that has to be written out in the prenup. The other side also is going to be advised by their own attorney. We can't advise that other side, so that's part of it as well. So I think all that's going to happen. I think before the marriage, if the two individuals are engaging in a prenup, that sort of stuff, they're probably having open conversations. I've had plenty of clients on the back end, right? On the back end.
The worst time to try.
Right. Well, what happens
Well,
is
then we can do a post-nup.
you can do a post-nup.
Okay, finish. And
But the issue is that most of the time when I hear the story, it goes, I didn't want a prenup, or we didn't talk about it at all. And then right before we got married, I was told I had to sign this. And so that's why I was kind of articulating that, both parties have to have their own individual attorney. You have to kind of spell everything out in these things and that sort of stuff. So it's not, it isn't something where I think, you're walking, you're about to walk down the aisle and they hand it to you and they're like, hey, you got to sign this.
There's been some thought process.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do think that happens. I think there's some leverage, right? Particularly, and
On your wedding day.
And I don't know Travis and his new bride, and I'm sure they're great human beings. But at some point, I think Travis has some leverage, knowing that he's probably, he just signed $50 million, right? And hypothetically, unless he's a bust, he's probably going to stand to make more, substantially more.
He'll probably make more than that just from the endorsements.
Just right, 100%. And so I think there's some leverage there, right? But at the same time, that I think that's why you have independent counsel to kind of go through these things and look at it. So the nice part, I'll say it this way, Josh. The nice part was that when Janice and I got married, I owned 2 inner tubes and a dog. So
there you go.
That was it.
All gone.
All gone, right?
You don't have any separate property anymore.
It's a joke. I don't remember where I heard it, but it's a saying that's sad, but I absolutely believe it's true. Is they say that the poor get to marry for love, the rich do not, and the reason is because you never know if that person is actually with you. It's always a thought in the back of your head, and unfortunately. But that's like, I don't envy him because he's getting roasted in I think he got married a couple weeks ago, and you're on the fence one way or another. Like he's an idiot, or he's doing it for love. Right. But the amount of pressure that he's having to defend his wife and I'm like, damn, just to say I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Now he's got to defend his decision because we live in the internet age and people are in his business. Right. We're talking about it right now. Right. I'm more concerned, not concerned, but like I've been doing content for you guys for 4 years now. So we'll have conversations off air and talking and questions. And one of the questions I asked was about a prenup. And I believe you told me 4 years ago, like, prenup means nothing. Like, it just depends on how it's written and who wrote it and how strong it is. And I was like, wait, what?
You can fight them. And prenups aren't one fits all. Like, prenups can be set up different ways. I think what we're talking about here generally is the prenup that says that we don't intend on creating a community estate. Anything I make is mine. Anything you make is yours, right? And in the event of divorce, I keep mine, you keep yours. Mm-hmm. There's middle ground there too. We've done plenty of prenups that say we do intend to create a community estate, but it's going to be limited to things that we purchase together, or we're going to have a joint bank account and what we put in there will be community, or we can buy a home together, and in the event of a divorce, whatever we proportionately put into the home is what we receive back out of it. Mm-hmm. There's also clauses in there that the person that is stands to make more money during the marriage, we'll say, in the event of a divorce, you're going to be entitled to X number of dollars. And that X number of dollars is usually a round number that they would get for every year that they're married. And there's usually a clause in there that says, but if you cheat on me, you don't get anything.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like prenups aren't, like you said, it's not just a piece of paper that says, okay, this is it, right? And it's a form box, right? Again, you have to identify all your assets that you own at this time, right? You have to disclose it, right? Everything has to be disclosed. And so it's not just, it is what it is. And quite frankly, no offense to, and I don't know, again, with Travis and his bride and that sort of stuff, they may have already been living together, already sharing assets, doing things. I'm sure he has NIL money, right? That sort of stuff when he was at Colorado, right?
Ridiculous amount of NIL money.
You know what I mean? And so, and by the way, as former, college athletes, I was, at least me, you went to a much more prestigious university. I was not entitled to NIL money.
Oh, no, I haven't. We're going to segue to that right now. My two college stories is this. I walked on to the track team at TCU. So I ran cross country, outdoor, indoor track at TCU. And I was going to be a graphic designer, didn't get into the program, and immediately changed my major from graphic design to mass comm. I get a phone call from the athletic academic person for eligibility, and she goes, "We just got notified that you changed." I didn't tell anybody. I just went and did it myself. That you changed majors. This going to affect your eligibility, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Ma'am, I'm a walk-on." She goes, "Oh, okay, have a good day." Click. It's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. But also for the NIL stuff that people, for the 18-year-old kids out there, they sat us in a room, and I'm sure they did, and they give you a stack of papers this
100%.
big with little tabs.
Yep.
And it's a group of all incoming athletes, and it's one person at the bottom. This is what this page says. Sign it, and you're flipping pages.
100%. Yeah, and everybody's in. We were all.
Just sign a legal
we were all.
document.
No lawyer. 18 years old. No lawyer.
100%. And you can't do this. You can't do that. You have to disclose this. You can't. Yes.
And I'm 100% for the NIL stuff. And so kudos to Travis and everybody else that took advantage of that system as it was implemented. But transition back, you guys are saying that a prenup is only as good as the attorney that wrote it. Is that essentially?
I mean,
there are certain qualifiers that have to be met, and you have to be open and honest about what you have and what you owe before you get married. If you have two good attorneys on it, and you do everything that you're supposed to do, it's fairly ironclad, unless you can say that there was fraud or undue pressure. And now, I made a joke earlier about, about to walk down the aisle and then they hand it to you. That one might be able to be undone.
Right. I'll say this too. The other thing
signing
is,
under duress or something.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think I'm going to use this space now to do an infomercial. You want to do an infomercial? We'll just turn the podcast into an infomercial.
Let's do it.
You want to? So one of the things about it is you want a prenup. You want someone that's experienced with what's going on. You want someone that also understands how it's going to be litigated if it's going to be attacked, and kind of make sure that it will stand up to an attack in litigation. We're experienced at doing this, but more importantly, just recently, Mr. Vaught, Jimmy Vaught's coming over and is now here with us at the firm. This is something he really is great at. He's done a lot of these. More importantly, this is something that he enjoys doing, double board certified, both in family law and appellate law. So we understand what it takes in order to draft it, do it, and make sure that we can litigate it and it'll stand up. So it is important that you get it right.
Yeah. Because
what you don't want to do is you don't want to hire someone who says, "Oh yeah, sure." You pay them some money, they check the box to do the things. You go along, you become an NFL star or whatever.
I got the body for it.
Right. That's what they've always said about you. I'm pretty sure I saw you grab your back earlier when you bent over to pick something up.
Well, it's all bad, but it's better than it was a month ago. Let's go with that.
It's getting better.
Or 2 months. It's been 2 months already. Wow. Okay.
And so, but my point is that you don't want to do that thinking the entire time you've got nothing but separate property, and then before you go through a divorce and then ultimately have to split your your assets.
And to piggyback off that, so you're saying that to fight a prenup or any of that, that's got to go through the appeals process? Is that
No, not necessarily the appeals process, but the first thing you're going to do is go through the divorce process.
Gotcha.
And so if the two of you get divorced, you got to do that, and that's where the people will generally attack the prenup.
Gotcha.
So you just want to make sure you get it done right. Look,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then other sports news. This one is more rumored, but it's kind of in our wheelhouse as far as family law goes. So Anthony Edwards.
Basketball.
Did you know that?
No.
Got it. Just checking. I just wanted to see. Okay. So Anthony Edwards. There's a lot of specifics, internet rumors and whatnot, but had a baby with a young lady. She ended up winning custody and child support. I don't think he contested custody whatsoever. The rumor is she won $5,000 a month awarded.
She was awarded child support. Awarded?
Oh, you're right. If I got $5,000 a month, I feel like I would win something. Okay. She was awarded $5,000 a month for child support. And the rumor was that he walked next door to the registrar's office or wherever and just cut a check for like 1.8, whatever that math is, $1 million and walked away. Mm-hmm. So again, rumored, don't know if it's true or not, but my question is that possible? Can you pay child support all up front for 18 years?
You can prepay, absolutely.
And so we've talked off camera, but in my head, as soon as I read that, I was actually in the barbershop getting cut when somebody said it, and I was like, excuse me? And they were talking about it like he cut a check, and I was like, you guys are idiots. Like he just saved himself probably $10 to $15 million. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, because he's about to sign a $400 million contract.
Right.
She's able to then go back, get more money.
Right.
I know that's a hot sports take how I'm putting it out there, and I know you guys are like, oh, but she was going to be able to get 10, 15, 20,000. I mean, you hear astronomical numbers of child support sometimes coming up $40,000, $50,000 a month.
And Texas is a little different from most states. In Texas, there's a cap on child support. Obviously, there are deviations, but the cap, the norm is the most that you can take into consideration when calculating child support. So when doing the math is $9,200 a month. So anything you make over $9,200 a month is yours, and you don't have to pay any of that towards child support. But other states,
not 9,200 total. That only 9,200 of your income can be calculated into that formula.
Into the formula, right? Mm-hmm. And there's and as she said, there's upward departures from that, right? The court can still award that, but the statutory guidelines basically say that they're capped at 9,200. They apply the statutory guidelines to that cap, so
and they'll go above that
100%.
Sometimes. But those astronomical numbers for child support, those aren't Texas cases.
Gotcha.
Those are typically not. I'll say this too. I think first and foremost this, and I think this is the thing that gets missed in this particular context. And first of all, Anthony Edwards, not in Texas. So
definitely
not in Texas. So not even close.
Minnesota.
Got it.
Nailed it.
And their mascot is
Vikings.
Hey, that's close.
That's close.
You got it right.
It's in
Wrong
a song.
sport.
Right. Yes.
It's in a song.
It's in a song.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Anyway, Pacers or Thunder?
Well, being that this is going to go out in a couple weeks, I am going to say Pacers are going to win in 6. No, I'm sorry. OKC is going to win in 6. That's my prediction before this goes out.
I saw the other day that OKC was a minus 700 for the series, and I looked at her and I said, if you've got extra dollars laying around, go lay it right now on the Pacers. There's no way the Pacers lose that series. Just letting you know. If you want to lay money on it, I'm good with it. But I'm taking this. I'm taking the Pacers have to be a plus 500 at least. I haven't looked. So.
I called game 1. I said that the Pacers would win. I was out at dinner with my parents at Roadhouse, and I nailed it. I still think OKC is going to get it together, but yeah.
No.
Anyway,
sorry.
Minus, that's some good. I look at that bank account a little bit different. But so
did he save himself by paying it up front?
Correct.
Not necessarily. So unless he signed a document or she signed a document that said something to the effect of, I'm releasing you of any future liability. Like this is what I'm getting for child support, and you paying it in a lump sum releases you from any further support or any further modifications, right? Like this is a one and done payment. Could have happened.
And if that, okay, so my question is this: if somebody signs that, and then he does make $400 million, can a judge overrule what the person has signed when now?
No, because the judge is going to sign that document. If the parties came to that agreement with their lawyers, that is going to be a court order, and the judge is going to sign it, and it'll be filed.
I'm going to infomercial you. Could Jimmy then come in as an appeals, and could you appeal that ruling and a judge look over it again and go, well, you paid $1 million. This is not Texas, but you were only paying $5,000 a month. Now your child support would be $30,000. That's an astronomical difference of what you signed.
Generally, no, because it's an agreement between the parties and the judge signed off on it. And two things. One, everyone knows that the benefit to him is that he gets to keep whatever the additional money that he makes moving forward.
Correct.
For her, she gets this lump sum payment, which is huge for her financially too, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean,
so everyone benefited from that agreement.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it was just a one-sided agreement, probably.
I think you're right. I think, and what I was going to say earlier before I got bogged down in the degenerate gambling portion of this section, or
is it degenerate though? If it's minus something,
I don't know that it is. It's hot sports opinions, I'll tell you that. So with that being said, I think the thing that's missed here is this was a really great opportunity for the two of them to come to an agreement, because what really should have happened was, in my opinion, is there should have been a negotiation. How much can you give me versus how much can you give me right now?
Yeah.
And knowing that, right, and knowing that, I think the only way, just as Jay said, I think there's the only way that this happens, in my opinion, is that you've got to have some agreement that I'm going to go pay the 1.8. I'll say this: if he was ordered to pay $5 a month, and he paid it in totality up front,
it's $60,000 a year times 18, whatever that math is. But
whatever that is. I'm just going to say this: without an agreement, that's a terrible idea. In the great state of Texas, she would have the right to go back and modify. There's no agreement. There's no contractual agreement that would bar them. They didn't anticipate that.
I think we're all on the same page. Right. No agreement, terrible, because you just agreement saved yourself a lot of money.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there's a lot of backstory in the drama, and I don't entertain any of that. But I heard it and was like, damn, that's a.
Yeah.
But to be fair, if he goes and plays and gets hurt,
100%.
And I know the contracts are different with different sports.
Yeah, unfortunately,
and he's still going to get money or whatever. But for the average Joe, right, to go and prepay that, even with that agreement, it could be a bad idea.
Yeah. Because
in certain instances.
100%. Because if you lose your job or your circumstances change, you want to have the ability to go back and modify. I think it's a thing where I think this is a really great negotiation. I think this is a really great opportunity for the two parties to sit down. And no offense to anyone that's on the bench, I just think it's a great way to take it away from the bench and get these particular details put together. And that's really
the bench being the judge.
Yeah, the judge.
The sporting,
not the sporting bench. Nice.
I see what you did there. Boom.
There you go. She's not talking about the 6th man award. That's fine. That's awesome.
I'm out. That's it.
That's all we got.
There you go. But I do think it's a thing where. And this is something that happens in family law across the board. And that's the unique part about family law. And we can really pretty much agree to almost any terms that mom or dad or the two parents want to agree to, we can do. And the nice part is this: the attorneys, oftentimes we have the ability to help facilitate and help navigate these negotiations of these very highly granular sort of details of where we're going to pick up little Johnny or little Susie, or how long this or this particular holiday is really important, and all these things. And again, no offense to anyone that's a judge or the bench, they're hearing hundreds of cases. They don't have time to sit there and listen to, little Johnny really enjoys Friday nights at, out at, the baseball field, whatever. And they don't care, right? They're like, look, we're going to do this and do the stuff. They just don't have time to do that. So the parties, anytime that you have an ability to sit down, and we've said this from the absolute beginning, right, to clients. Anytime that two parents can sit down and figure it out, you're in 1,000% better spot.
You rolling the dice of somebody that's making a decision for you.
You. Even if you're not getting everything you want, you are in control of the terms of how you're getting it. It's so much better to be able to do that. And I get it. Like sometimes you just can't, and judges are going to make these decisions. And I don't mean to say that all judges can't or won't get into the granular details. They just don't have time or the ability to do that. And you have to understand, a lawyer, we're on the case from point A to point B, or from beginning to end, or whatever. We spent countless hours. This court, the judge, has heard this case over the course of an hour in some instances. Sometimes it's a week, right? You got a week-long trial. They've heard all the things. Sometimes it's literally just an hour, and they're figuring out all these details for you. My point is, particularly with the Anthony Edwards thing, anytime y'all can sit down and come up with an agreement, I think that's the way it should have been done.
Absolutely.
And particularly
and
in this
hopefully
situation.
he chatted with his lawyer before he went and wrote that check.
I had to believe in my heart of hearts, because I had never heard that before. That's why I didn't know if it was real or not. I didn't know that you could do that, because I'm like, that's a damn good financial decision in my head.
Right.
But I gotta believe that he talked to an attorney. You would hope. I would hope that he talked to an attorney that was like, yeah, if you get this, as long as you get this signed, you give her this 1.08 million, we'll call it a day.
I want to test you real fast.
Okay.
You ready?
Oh, geez.
All right. Here's a hypothetical.
Cool.
Let's say he paid her 1.8, right? Right off the top.
It's 1.08. $1,080,000.
$1,080,000. And we should get Alex or Boat to come over here and talk about this. But what if you took $1,080,000 and you stuck it into, I don't know, a high yield savings that makes what, 5%?
Yeah.
Is that not? Wouldn't that make more sense? And then tear out and then carve out payments a little bit, so at least you're making a little bit money on it while you do that to
Or
offset.
just be done.
Well, here's the thing though. So in this situation though, like hypothetically, couldn't he set this up to where the money sits in an account?
Yeah.
He has someone who's basically in charge of writing this check on a monthly basis. He's getting an interest rate right on top of this. But
then he's opening himself up to a modification for
the kicker.
increased support moving
'Cause
forward, because the obligation is continuing versus paying it in a lump sum and being done.
He's gonna sign a $400, close to $500 million contract, and at that point, I don't know what the rules in those states are, but it's definitely not the 9,000 cap in Texas, and so So then you're doing a math problem with equations of 18 years versus compounded interest versus how much months she's.
And I want to.
TCU math didn't do all that for me. I didn't get there. It's college algebra.
I'll say this too though, and even in Texas though, let's say hypothetically this happened in Texas and he didn't do this agreement. She'd be well within her right to go file a modification and ask for an upward departure from the statutory guidelines.
Yeah.
So that 9,200 would be obliterated. Right now, what that looks like and what that is. There's an exhaustive list of factors, right, that are sort of promulgated that the court would look at.
Is that the word of the day from toilet paper? Promulgated?
Promulgated.
Promulgated.
Even better.
Yeah, well, that's the SAT word if I've ever heard one.
You know what I'm saying? I'm getting my Austin College dollars.
Okay,
today.
there you go.
There you go. There you go. Right.
Y'all gonna have to pay us for these name drops at some point.
But she would be in there, and she would be, asking the court for that upward departure from the statutory guidelines, and she would likely get something.
Yeah.
What she would get, the court's going to have a lot of discretion in that based on those factors. So
celebrities can teach us a lot, but I think what I've learned and from this is,
have a good lawyer.
Yes, but before you get to it, just have conversations with people. Like Travis Hunter and his wife, let them do whatever they want as long as they had conversations within their marriage. Cool. Right. Anthony Edwards, whatever that situation was on the back end, have conversations with her about the money. But just talk finances. That's a big thing in divorce, isn't it? That's
100%.
The reason for divorce, or
that's what I'm saying. One of the biggest reasons
Absolutely.
is finances. Yeah.
It's I talk all the time, and it always comes down, in my opinion, to money, power. Those are the two things: money and power. And
interesting.
And and it's part of it. I get in trouble all the time. I was in front of a guardian ad litem the other day with opposing counsel, and they were asking, we were waiting to be heard at court, and she was asking me something about something I had to do or whatever. I said, I'm here and I'm doing my job today. She said, what's that? And I said, I'm here to sell a kid. And it's a terrible statement, but it's a true, but it's a true statement. A lot of times this comes down to how much money are we going to give or how much money are you going to give or are you going to take? And so we can see little Johnny or little Susie. And I know that sounds
Sometimes
terrible.
you have to pay for your time.
Right. And it sounds, look, the way the sausage gets made is not beautiful. It's not pretty, but I'm just saying it's supposed to be inflammatory, but
but the point is made.
But the point is the true statement. It's either that or we're fighting over power, over control over the kids, or control over your ex. That's what a lot of these fights come down to. And so at the end of the day, I agree with you. If you can communicate, you can work through this. Now, quite frankly, too, and I say this a lot, particularly to my clients that don't understand why we can't reach agreements. The reason that we're here, the reason I got hired, is because the two of you have held out in public that you can't reach agreements enough to stay together. And this concept now that you're just suddenly everyone's going to agree. So when I say that you should agree, it's not just, hey, let's all kumbaya and we all kind of hang out. That takes work.
A lot of
Oftentimes more work than just going to court because it is so granular. It has so much to do with it. But my point of that is just because we want the other side to agree doesn't mean that you're going to. So anyways.
Cool.
All right. So where are you going to try out for?
So I think I'm going to start taking up trying to be an ultra marathon runner.
Oh my God.
I got invited to do rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon. So
Okay.
it's 48 miles, 24 there, 24 back, top, down, up, down.
At one time?
Yeah, one day.
Yeah, we did. I did the same thing.
In one day?
Yeah.
I did the same thing in high school. It was rim to rim, but it was 80-foot basketball court. So it was just
we did those two.
One to the other.
So I'm trying to train for that and figure out if I'm even in shape to attempt that. Because you're not running the whole thing. Like you run the downhills, you hike the uphills. So it's not like running. That's what I've learned is ultra marathoners. You hear we're running 100 miles in 24 hours where you're not. You're
traveling that far.
You're traveling that far. You're running some of it. You're hiking the uphills. You run the flats, but it's not always running. You're just traveling that far. So
When is this?
they want to do it in October. So
Of 2025.
yeah, like in 3 months.
Oh, that's fair.
Sure.
Yeah.
I one time, just so you know, I pulled my hamstring driving 100 miles.
So this one's only 48, but I hiked the *�̀oconte in Peru, which is roughly the same amount of distance, but we did it over 5 days. So
That sounds terrible.
yeah, that's my new athletic goal. So there you go.
Well, congratulations. I guess we'll have to get a new podcast producer.
Yeah.
Was this October? Let's get some more in the can before.
Yeah,
you
got a couple months. We'll make it work.
You don't come back from the Grand Canyon. Is it like an extraction situation?
Yeah, helicopter.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, that's nice.
that's it.
We'll be back here doing a podcast over that probably.
Yeah.
And how that affects family law. So, thank you. Thanks.
Always a good time.
God bless you.
Talk about guardianships.
Guardianship. That's exactly right. We'll talk about guardianships, doing that sort of stuff. Guys, thanks for hanging out today. Talking about sports, talking about family law, and all the good stuff. We hope and pray, and everyone, please send your well wishes to Josh in his endeavor to apparently run across the Grand Canyon or some shit.
Hike,
That is
move.
bananas. Stay tuned next week. Got more episodes coming down the line.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next Friday.